All right, so today we are talking about how to lose body fat while building muscle. Maybe you are looking at this title going, is that even possible? I get asked that a lot, and maybe you have tried to do that on your own and you've either ended up one of two places. I know a lot of times people will try to lose body fat and feel like they maybe lose weight but end up skinny fat, or if you've ever tried to put on muscle before, maybe you have gained strength and gained muscle, but you feel kind of bulky and fluffy. The good news is that both of those scenarios are common and there is a way to fix those problems. You just have to know a little bit more about what's going on underneath everything and how to lose body fat and gain muscle successfully. If we haven't connected on here yet, my name is Molly Van Marth. I'm an executive health and fitness coach, and I help my clients lose the last 10 to 30 pounds while gaining or retaining lean muscle mass, which is what creates the toned look. I know a lot of you are very excited to hear how to do that. And so sharing some things with you guys this week on nutrition, with how to get ahead, with your health and fitness, and also without sacrificing your energy and your health. Because if you're an executive, ultimately you still have to be able to perform at your job while you're getting into better shape, and so that's important too. Also, everything I share on here is going to be a very time condensed strategy. Executives are already short on time, so I know that most of you don't have more time to spend on getting into better shape. And the good news is a lot of this just has to do with making better, wiser decisions with food and knowing how to work out when you do work out. So anyway, again, today we're going to talk about, how to lose body fat while building muscle. And the question is, to start all of this, can you do that? Is that possible? And the answer is yes. However, while it is possible to lose body fat while you're gaining lean muscle, you should not try to aim to do both at the same time. Reason being, when you aim for both, you technically end up often doing neither one and you kind of end up treading water. So if you've ever felt stuck, you're probably doing things that are triggering both muscle gain or weight gain and fat loss at the same time, and you kind of end up not making any progress. So you shouldn't aim for both at the same time, even though they can occur simultaneously. The truth is, on the way to getting into better shape, you're usually sort of in and out of each one. And what is best and what I advise my clients to do is figure out which one you should do first, finish the job, and then shift into the next mode. So for you, it might be important to lose body fat first, get all of the body fat off, and then focus on building muscle. Or maybe you should focus on building muscle first, finish the job, and then, focus on losing body fat after that. Anyway, the solution here is really figuring out how to create the toned look, right? And that is by, again, having low enough body fat and high enough muscle mass, okay? When we're talking about people who have a really nice shape, people that look athletic, people who are chiseled, toned, whether you want to have like a lot of muscle or just nice muscle tone, you have to have muscle on your body to have a shape, and then you have to have low enough body fat so that your skin is stretched over your muscles to reveal what those muscle shapes are. That's what creates the toned look. Sometimes people don't understand that you can't just, if you don't have enough muscle on your body and you just lose a bunch of weight, it's not going to give you a nice shape. A lot of times you'll just feel weaker and softer and smaller. So those are common problems for people to have. Again, it's normal to, if you're trying to build muscle, it can be easy to end up feeling fluffy and bulky because when you gain the muscle, you gain a lot of body fat with it. That's often what happens. Also, if you are in a fat loss phase and you're trying to lose weight, it can be very common to end up feeling skinny fat because not only have you lost weight and body fat, you've also lost muscle. And that's not good. Losing muscle is really a problem too, because at the end of losing weight in that way, if you lose weight and you lose muscle along with it, your metabolism is now lower. Okay, because muscle requires more calories to exist than body fat. So you want muscle on your body. That means your body will be burning through more calories at rest. So if you go through a fat loss phase incorrectly and you lose muscle along with body fat, once you're done with that fat loss phase, you are now weaker, and also your body will regain weight much faster than it did before because you're burning less at rest. That's something that's very important to understand. That's what creates such a vicious cycle of yo-yo dieting for people, is because after they go through these fat loss phases where they're losing more and more muscle each time, their body is burning less at rest each time. And that's why your rate of rebound weight gain can be so much faster every time you go through the yo-yo cycle of losing weight and regaining weight when you're losing it incorrectly. So Anyway, again, the good news is we can figure out what's going on so that you are not losing muscle if you're losing body fat, and also keeping fat gain to a minimum if you're in a phase of gaining muscle. It's just important that if you are in fat loss mode, you are still aware of muscle and how to retain it. And it's important that if you are in the muscle gain phase, you know how to keep body fat gain to a minimum. The question is, when do you do each one? When is it the appropriate time to focus on losing body fat, and when is it the appropriate time to focus on gaining muscle? Okay, so I've broken it down a little bit further for you guys. For fat loss, if you are above a normal weight range, even if you have a lot of muscle, sometimes people will want to argue with me on this one where they're like, well, you know, I'm a big guy, but like, you know, have a lot of muscle. Okay, but if you are above a healthy weight range, like well above a healthy weight range, doesn't matter if you have a lot of muscle, the first thing you need to focus on is fat loss. And that's just for health purposes. And also, the more fat you lose, if you can get into a healthier weight range, you will move better, you will feel better. And that's just the goal, right? If you already have built the muscle, the next step is to lose body fat. And I was talking to somebody earlier today about trouble spots. So if you are someone who feels like, you know, you might lose weight easily in certain areas and then not so easily in other areas, and you're wondering how to get rid of trouble spots, the truth is you just haven't gotten lean enough to see those trouble spots go away. You can't spot lose body fat. You can spot build muscle. You can decide where muscle goes. You can't decide where fat comes off of your body. So if you're noticing that you just have trouble spots left on your body, you just need to lose more weight. And sometimes that can be difficult to figure out how to do because it is definitely a process and you can't just wing it, right? So as far as, again, knowing when it's appropriate to focus on fat loss primarily, for men, if we're getting technical here, if you want to know actual body fat percentages, for men, if you are at 15% or greater, and a lot of times in the beginning of your fat loss journey, it's much greater than that, that would be an appropriate point to focus on losing body fat. Now, I will also say for women, I would say like 25% or more is an okay place to focus on losing body fat. For men also, you know, it's really very dependent. That's why I have on here, ask a coach, right? This is specific to you and what you are most comfortable with. For some guys, 15% body fat would be the place where they would want to end up. So a lot of times, you know, guys might even start in the 20s, and getting down to 15% body fat is actually the goal. But I would say definitely like any place above 15% body fat is an appropriate place to start focusing on fat loss. Okay. Totally depends. And this might be something that would be good to get perspective on from a coach. As far as targets, so like if you are focusing on losing body fat, how fast should you lose per week? And this is something that has sort of an upper limit and also a lower limit, in my opinion. For losing body fat, I would not suggest dropping below losing 1 pound per week, just because it can be very demotivating. If your fat loss stalls and you end up losing weight slower than 1 pound per week for long periods of time, you might want to see what you can do to speed it up, just because ultimately, like when you have an effective plan, it's usually pretty easy to get your fat loss around 1 pound per week when everything is working correctly. Yes, there are going to be periods of time where progress might not show up on the scale. If it's not showing up on the scale, you should be seeing it show up in the mirror or in how your clothes are fitting, right? You don't want to be stalled out for long periods of time. Normally, sometimes people say, oh, the scale doesn't matter. The truth is, if you've got 20 or 30 pounds to lose, scale does matter. Like ultimately with a successful plan, the scale will eventually go down. Yes, you want to measure other things along with it. So again, if you have one of those weeks where you are losing body fat, but maybe you're gaining a little bit of muscle and it's not showing up on the scale, just make sure you're checking things like your clothes. You should be able to see progress in pictures if it's not showing up on the scale, but you are making progress. Anyway, and then I wouldn't lose weight much faster than 2.5 pounds per week, because that means you're at risk for losing muscle. Your body can only lose weight so fast. And so you want to make sure that you're not losing muscle mass along with body fat. Okay. The main catalyst for losing body fat is your diet. The phrase "you can't outwork a bad diet" is absolutely true. Obviously you should be training along with making adjustments to your diet. However, diet is going to be key for long-term and short-term fat loss. And the way that I suggest going about it, and these are just two essential points, right? It is a lot more detailed than this for each person. on their journey to getting really lean and in great shape. But two things that you absolutely have to establish are a gradual calorie deficit. You do in fact have to lower your calories if you're going to lose body fat. That's just something that you have to do. Don't suggest doing a super steep cut because that's going to ruin your energy and also, again, put you at risk for losing muscle. But you have to create some kind of calorie deficit so that your body goes, all right, I don't have enough energy from the food that I'm eating. I'm going to have to pull from fat stores. And that's when your body starts burning body fat for energy. That's a good thing. That's how you lose weight. Gradual. So for example, what would be good, what would be tangible and sustainable is creating a 500 calorie deficit per day. Because at the end of a week, when you are negative 500 calories per day, that ends up to negative 3,500 calories in the week. And when you burn off 3,500 extra calories from your maintenance place where you're not gaining or losing weight, your body loses a pound of body fat. You have to burn off 3,500 additional calories from your maintenance place for your body to let go of a pound of body fat. And so if we divide this up over the week, that means being under your maintenance calories by 500 per day. Okay? And this is typically pretty doable for people. What is important is that you know how to establish your maintenance calories, and that's why it can be sometimes helpful to get a coach and get some guidance on this stuff. There is math at play here, right? Like, this is not rocket science, but there is a little bit of science that you will benefit from learning so that you're not confused as to why you're gaining or losing or maintaining your weight. Another thing, again, that is really important to establish is protein, and this is because lots of reasons. I could do a 3-hour lecture on just protein alone. But first of all, it will lower your hunger so that your weight loss process will be much more pleasant with higher protein amounts. But I would aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight so that as you're losing body fat, you are still optimizing to retain all of your lean muscle. Protein is something that is absolutely essential for keeping muscle on your body. So that's something you want to focus on in this fat loss phase. The other thing is that resistance training, so lifting weights, using machines in the gym, and progressive overload, where every week you're adding a few more reps or a little bit of weight, or you're adding a set here or there. That is important, again, to make sure muscle stays on your body. I know I sound like a broken record here, but resistance training is important as well. Just like eating the right food is important for creating a deficit and losing body fat, these things will help you not lose muscle as you go. Okay? So that's the fat loss phase. And again, you got to keep going with that until you are done losing body fat if you are above a healthy weight range. Okay? Once you are lean, and again, for a male, this could be anywhere between 8 to 10% body fat. For a female, maybe 14 to 20% body fat. Then you're okay to do a muscle gaining phase. So if you're wanting to sort of customize your shape, maybe you have weaker body parts. If you're a guy, you might want bigger biceps or shoulders. If you're a female, you might want to grow your glutes. I don't know, whatever it is. You can absolutely choose where you grow muscle on your body. Or maybe you just want to increase your strength and you just want to get stronger. That's great. Lose the body fat first, see what you're working with in terms of muscle, and then focus on building muscle and achieve your goal. So that's when you should do it. Also, if you may have a high body fat percentage, but be underweight. So it is possible to kind of be like, again, this is where people refer to themselves as skinny fat. So you could have a higher body fat percentage and it's still appropriate to focus on muscle gain, but only if you're underweight. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. If you are overweight with a high body fat percentage, you need to focus on losing body fat. If you are underweight with a high body fat percentage, so you just don't have a lot of muscle, but you have a lot of body fat, but you're very thin, it's appropriate to focus on muscle gain first. Okay. Because as you gain muscle, your body fat will be stretched out with muscle being built underneath it, and your body fat percentage will actually go down as you gain muscle. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys need further explanations on any of this, if any of this is confusing, just shoot me a message and I can probably explain things a little bit better. Anyway, targets and as far as what to aim for when you are in a muscle building phase. The human body can lose body fat faster than it can put on muscle. So the rate of muscle gain is going to be a little bit slower. Normally, under normal conditions, and again, these are general numbers, is a little bit different for everybody, but typically you can gain about 2 pounds of lean muscle per month. And honestly, that's probably on the fast side. So In a muscle gain phase, you should be only gaining about a half a pound a week. You should also be checking your pictures to make sure it doesn't look like you're just gaining body fat. You should be seeing better muscle definition show up. And also, you should be following some kind of organized weight routine so that you can see your strength go up as you're gaining weight. Because if your strength is staying the same and you're gaining weight, you're probably gaining body fat, right? And the whole goal here, if you're in a muscle gain phase, is to gain muscle but keep fat gain to a minimum as much as possible. It's normal to gain some body fat as you put on muscle, just like it's normal to lose a little bit of muscle when you lose body fat. It's part of it, but we want to do everything we can to keep fat gain to a minimum while you build muscle. Okay, so those are things to watch out for. The main catalyst for gaining muscle is your training. You absolutely cannot gain muscle without lifting weights or doing resistance exercises of some kind. You obviously need the right kind of diet to go with it. Your body needs the right raw materials. And this is a little bit reversed from losing body fat. You need to be in a little bit of a caloric surplus. So you need a little bit of extra food than your body needs to just maintain, so your body can use that extra food to build muscle. But your body will not use that extra food to build muscle unless you are using progressive overload, which again means increasing difficulty, increasing volume of your workouts over time. Okay, so you need to be adding reps, sets, weight lifted, or time under tension, so slowing down your reps or reducing the rest time in between sets as you go. Otherwise, your body's like, okay, why do I have to build more muscle here? I have the same amount of effort is required of me each week. If you're doing the same workouts over and over and over, your body's not going to add muscle. And that's why it's very important, whether it's food or your workouts, you need to be organized. And if this stuff isn't something that you have time to do, if you don't have time to set up an organized workout routine that includes things like progressive overload, you are wasting your time in the gym. You may be going and working out and you feel good, that's great. But if you're someone who cares about seeing your body transform, and that's actually why you're in the gym, like sometimes we like to say we go to the gym to feel good, that's great. Obviously, I encourage working out to feel better. I promise you'll always feel better if you work out. But if you are someone who likes being strategic with what you're doing and you want to use your time wisely, why would you not want to follow something that is organized to where you're in the gym, you're feeling better, but also your body is transforming? Isn't that the goal, right? Like, don't you want to reach goals and not just tread water? Anyway, I know there's a lot of people, and the reason I say this, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, I connect with people on LinkedIn all the time, and sometimes people will respond to me asking, how's fitness going this year? Are you doing anything? Are you, making progress towards goals? What's it looking like for you? How are things going? Sometimes people will respond with, I'm working out 7 days a week, I'm good. However, that person's not in shape. Working out 7 days a week does not mean you're using a strategic or successful routine. And people can see that. You may have 3 trainers, you may go to an awesome gym, you may have been an athlete in your past. I don't care if you're working out 7 days a week. If you're not using a strategic plan, some guy that has never worked out in his life before could start using a strategic 4-day-a-week plan and pass you up with how his body transforms if he's using something that is well designed and intelligently designed. And this training is not for everybody. If you're someone who, again, is okay with where you're at, you're okay with treading water, you're okay with maintaining your shape, you do not have to do this. You can continue to do whatever you're doing. You can continue to just show up to the gym, move, feel great, and go home. But if you're not okay with where you are and seeing your body transform and get leaner and muscle definition is something you want to see more of, then you need to be strategic about it. And also my thought is, if you are spending time and energy and money, especially time, if you are working out at all, you should be using workouts that are productive, right? Like you would apply this kind of, these thoughts towards anything you would do with work, right? So my thought is, why not approach fitness in the same way? Anyway, training is going to be really important for building muscle, right? Lots more to say here. I'm sure I'll make another training on it at some point. Like I already mentioned, you need to keep an eye on your rate of gain. So like, for example, if you start jumping up by like a pound or more each week, you're probably not gaining just lean muscle. If you've never lifted weights before, I should say there's kind of like a caveat to that. If you've never lifted weights before, it is common for people to rapidly gain muscle in the very beginning of lifting weights. However, as you go, at some point, you kind of want to slow your rate of gain down to about a half a pound per week. Again, just to make sure you're not gaining body fat along with muscle. Okay. Reason you want to do that is because if you are in the process of gaining muscle, and that's the mode that you're in, that's the phase that you're in, that's what you're focused on, you don't want to have to stop to go back into fat loss mode. You don't want, if you gain fat too quickly, it's cumulative. So you don't want to have to stop and spend time losing body fat because you did it too quickly. You want to just try to keep body fat gain to a minimum so you can stay in that muscle building phase until you're done building muscle. Okay. And yeah, the process of building a really nice physique, it takes time, and it's common to have to go back and forth between muscle gain, and then you might have, again, typically at the end of gaining a lot of muscle, you'll have to go back into a fat loss phase to get rid of any body fat that you've accumulated through the muscle gaining phase. It's common to have to go back and forth between the two, but again, it's important to make sure you are in one or the other so that you're not just treading water. For the full notes, or again, if there's anything I can clarify, I know some of this was like a little complex, but it's something that I get asked a lot, and you guys need to know that A, there's a formula for how to do these two things successfully, and B, it's common to make mistakes if you aren't educated on, what those mistakes can be. So anyway, if there's anything I can clarify further, if you guys have questions, also if you have any other ideas for topics that you would like to see me make trainings on, drop that in the comments below. If you do want the Google Doc notes that I just covered here, then drop the word notes in the comments below, whether it's for you or someone you think would appreciate them. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll be back on here again soon.